Well, the popular issue of the day, at least in the questions that are before me here tonight, is transportation, and it comes in a variety of ways. We have a viewer here who's concerned about overweight trucks and factories that put overweight trucks on the road and wonders if we shouldn't be doing something about that. People are for and against increases in gas tax, and others are noting specific roads that are of issue, specifically Highway 60 in Wabasha County. We're going to wrap all that together, and we're going to talk about transportation. Let's start with you, Senator Saxog. What do you think where do you think this is going this session?
Well, I think that what we're really talking about here is how we're going to raise the money. First of all, I guess I should say that none of us, I don't think, really believe that Minnesota's roads are in terrific shape. And in fact, I think we'll be falling behind more and more all the time. So the question is, how do you finance improving the roads so that we can bring ourselves into a competitive situation, particularly in rural Minnesota? I think we have a problem with that infrastructure and delivering our goods to market and the whole thing. So the governor's proposed the equivalent, and we can do it a lot of different ways, of about 20 cents a gallon if you put it right on the gas tax. And so that being the case, he yesterday laid out his plan for 600 road projects, and those of us could easily go in and find out if you're in Itasca or Cass or Beltrami County where you're going to see your roads be improved. And it was impressive. And I've been on most of those roads that were mentioned, and most of them indeed need some real work. So I think it is important that the public go out and look at the roads, look at the potential that we have if we do want to invest that much money in our system, and see what might be improved. And then kind of work your way either up or down and talk about if we split the difference, if the governor and the House bill, if we split the difference, what would we end up with? Would we end up with 300 projects, or what would it be? But I do believe that it is, even though we haven't heard that much, barring yesterday, on this particular subject, I do believe that it will be the beginning and the end of the session, and it will probably be the last major issue dealt with in the session in the middle of May, and when it's over, and if we do come to a conclusion on it, that will be the end of the session.
Representative Hackbarth, your thoughts?
Well, I agree. This is going to. I think before the session even started, everyone knew that it was going to be the transportation issue is what's going to get us out of the session. Either we're going to have an end of a session, or we're going to have a shutdown, or we're going to have something. But that's going to be the deciding factor in May. And when we leave, what did we do in transportation? I don't think that you're going to see a gas tax increase from the House, and I'm sure the Senate's going to want to do a gas tax increase and carry the governor's proposal to increase the gas tax or a sales tax on gas, and I just don't see the House going along with that. So that's going to be the deciding factor at the end of session. So I do disagree with Senator Saxog a little bit. The governor puts this transportation plan out there about these 600 projects. Now, the amount of money that we're going to increase the gas tax or bring this money in from the sales tax, is that going to pay for all of those 600 projects, Senator Saxog? I don't think so. I don't know that he can pay for those 600 projects with just that gas tax increase. I don't think that's going to happen. Not unless you're talking maybe 50 years from now. Eventually they'll catch up with those 600 projects. But that's not going to happen. That's not what that was all about. He says, here's these 600 projects. We need more money to address these 600 projects. But that's not going to pay for all 600 projects, not in the next couple of years anyway.
Well, no, this is a 10-year plan.
Yeah, right.
It is.
Yeah. So There's a lot of transportation dollars already in the system. They're being diverted to other projects. They're being diverted to light rail and commuter rail and subsidizing those things. All you have to do is go and stand out here on University Avenue and look at the green line going by and count how many people are in each one of those 5 or 6 cars that are going by every few minutes. Practically none. And how many people are actually paying to ride that train? I mean, we're totally subsidizing all of these light rail projects that cost billions of dollars to build in the first place. Each one of these lines is like $1 billion to build, and then the ongoing expenses. And that's all being subsidized by gas tax already. I mean, that's where our transportation dollars are going. We could have great roads in this state right now with the money that we're already bringing in. We do not need to increase the gas tax, and we don't need to put a sales tax on gasoline. We put that sales tax on gasoline, and there's that automatic inflator in there. This is going to be ongoing and costing more and more money all the time. All it takes is for the gas price to go, the wholesale gas price to go up, to increase the sales tax on the gasoline. I mean, this is nuts. This is crazy, and the people of Minnesota should be very upset about it. I mean, the governor lays out this plan, and this is the the governor's plan is my way or no highway, and that's really what this is going to be all about. Our plan or no plan. So that's what the end of session is going to be about. All these other things are pretty much insignificant this year. There are a lot of issues that we do have to address, but it's really going to come down to transportation.
Representative Lee?
I agree. I think we all knew going into this session that this was going to be the transportation session. The group of different stakeholders, Move Minnesota, I know they were going around the state before session. Well, really, I want to say 2013, these folks were going around the state, too, talking about the needs. And, you know, I don't think anybody can argue that the needs are out there. We have about $1 billion just on the state highways, $1 billion in infrastructure maintenance needs right now. You go out 10 years from now and we're talking about $6 billion total. You know, talking with different business groups and things for, you know, commerce not being able to move along our state highways. We're talking about an annual loss of revenue for businesses, about $243. And so I think, you know, we have to take a look at doing something big and doing something long-term and doing something comprehensive, including, you know, for our state highways, for local roads and bridges, also talking about different forms of infrastructure at airports, talking about different ports along Duluth, St. Paul, Minneapolis. So, you know, I think this does have to be very comprehensive. And if you take a look at the projects that were out there, or I should say the projects that the governor released on that list just this week, 74% of those projects are in Greater Minnesota. So, you know, taking a look at different revenue sources, and this is a conversation I know that we're all going to be having over the next 3-4 months or so. But if you take a look at the different sources of funding between the general fund cash, the bonding, trunk highway funding, gas tax, Greater Minnesota is going to get more dollars coming out of the trunk highway bonds or coming out of those gas tax funds that are dedicated to the trunk highways. So, you know, I think we have to take all of these into consideration and really look at this as a very long-term, comprehensive package that I think folks on both sides of the aisle, folks in both chambers, know that we have to address.
Well, Representative Hagmark got pretty revved up here. I was talking about who is going to be upset, and you know, I read the part of Minnesota that I represent. Whether I'm talking about my county commissions or the people I just talked to or the city councils, they're going to be upset if we don't do something about our transportation system. And as far as the light rail, you may or may not like it, but it wasn't billions.
Senator Saxon, it's $1 billion for each one of the lines. There's
Yeah.
$1 billion for each
So
line.
you're talking about,
Now, we've got the line coming from Minneapolis to the airport.
Okay.
There's $1 billion.
Okay.
The Green Line is $1 billion.
Okay.
It's $1 billion to put one out to Eden Prairie.
well, you
It's
just,
going to be $1
is
billion
that
to
there?
put the
Is
one out
that,
to-
is that, has
They're
that
being
been built?
proposed.
Is that,
They're
you
being
bet it's been
Yes.
proposed.
Each one of them is $1 billion.
You're
That's what I
right.
said.
You just said billions,
We've got $2 billion
more than
invested
one.
already.
Is that
We've
what
got
it means,
two.
more than one?
We've got 2.
All right.
We've got 2. Each
Well,
one is $1
careful.
billion to build.